So, Vagrant Story was the game voted on at the start of October, I believe it was. Yeah, that's how months work, right? Yeah, that's how months work. I forget what it was quite up against, but it did win out. I believe because it was one of those games that plenty of us had heard was solid. Just like a very solid like game from the Final Fantasy Tactics devs. But I guess a lot of us had never really gotten around to playing, which is basically the entire point of the book club. Is for games like this that you know you should play. You've heard the good things about, but you never got around to them. You know. Where's that? That's slightly cropped wrong. My apologies. Let me fix that. Real quick, like. Yeah. There we go. And I mean, I can say it was worth it. Like, I got my own review I can sort of reference for a lot of points I had about this game. It was an extremely interesting one. And if anyone, and I'll try and repeat this throughout the book club summary, if anyone wants to share their thoughts or even jump into Discord voice and, you know, just vocalize your own thoughts or opinions on the game, please do feel free. This is very much a group thing. This is not just me talking to the void. We want to see how everyone felt about this game, because I know my opinion was a different one. I know that for me, this game hit a lot of the right buttons, because I enjoy the... how would I put it? The jank? I feel like jank is the right word. But that almost feels like not like making a good enough point for what they were able to pull off with this game. They got a lot of really good stuff done. But it's not user-friendly. It's like deliberately obfuscated and how would you even describe it? I described it, I know in my review, as like playing a CRPG on like the Amiga or something, where you can sort of feel the numbers working in the background. Like, you get a +1 to this, and you have like that tangible feeling of, oh, that's affected this. Now I know that these systems are intertwined. Or it's like, oh, okay, this actually does this much. And it doesn't really give you those numbers. It just says this increases defense. You've got to figure out how much of an impact that actually has. And that's always something I associate with really, really retro CRPGs. So the fact that this game was able to do that on the PS1 tells me that was an intentional, like, design philosophy. Especially when combined with something else that we'll probably get to later. For the moment, I will say again, hello to everyone. Can someone send a message in chat just to make sure it's not stuffed up? I just want to make sure I'm not, like, accidentally missing chat here. Thank you, Sheba. Okay, chat is good. Nobody here but us cows. Thanks, Spavok. Welcome all. Okay, cool. I just want to make sure when it's a little bit silent, but I got people and we're talking, it's something I like to make sure of, you know. But thank you all for making it clear that's working fine. So, as Soniko cannot make it, but we have his review, we'll go through, and we'll start with probably, well, given this is starting with the intro cutscenes, easily... I just noticed, is this not like... Has this not got gameplay? Hang on. Okay, no, this does have gameplay. So, what is the most noticeable thing when starting this game out is these cinematics that, frankly, are stunning to look at. Actually, insane levels of quality and production values for a PS1 game. Like, these are motions, these are effects, these are camera angles you would normally associate, at least I do. I associate with either Metal Gear Solid or pre-rendered. But these are not pre-rendered. The one that people miss because you have to get it to begin. Oh, yeah, you're definitely right on that point. But, oh yeah, here is the pre-rendered. Which is, I'll be real with you. This has nothing to do with the game. At all. Actually, now that I'm seeing it again, this pre-rendered cutscene is probably FMV. Probably the worst thing in the game. It is in my eyes, a completely pointless eye catch with some sexy lady dancing and a dragon. But it does have that beautiful transition into the main menu, which I gotta give it credit for. If you blink, you miss it and you think it transitioned naturally, which, yeah. So coming back to, it's the only sighting of Mullenkamp in the entire game, considering she gets brought up a few times. Ah, I see. Let's skip ahead a little bit. There we go. Just to make sure this gets going. So again, the production values in the cutscenes. They are... I forgot this was tonight. Hi, Cyro. Yeah, I think a few people did. We got people filtering in as it goes, but that's okay. It happens. I'll say again, if anyone wants to jump into voice and join in, it's a bit quiet tonight. I didn't really have a pre-planned crew, so if anyone wants to jump on the couch, just let me know. Hop in the waiting room, and I'll be more than happy to drag you down. But if we look at this cutscene here, so the easiest example, and the one that was brought up first in the Discord topic about this game, was the lighting. Because PS1 doesn't do lighting. But if you notice, those characters looked like they had a glow behind them. Which is some movie magic bullshit. They put two models of the characters on screen at the same time in order to get that halo effect. You can't... they're clever about it. I'd say it's only... Yeah, right there. That's actually two of that general. I've never seen lighting like that in a PS1 game before, Pepsi Man. You still haven't, because as I'm saying, they cheating. They are cheating. And that's what most of this is cheating. Like, holy shit, now I'm looking at it. That torch and that area, that's just pre-drawn. It looks so natural, but they just drew it like that. You forget of the limitations of the PlayStation with what they pulled off with this thing. Yeah, that's all over the game, exactly. It's... as I was saying, it's production values I'd only associate with Metal Gear Solid as like an equivalent. Except I do think this surpasses anything Metal Gear has in terms of just cinematic quality. Metal Gear has a lot going for it. Do not get me wrong. It has so much. It is a very different style, and I love the game in oh so many ways. This one is more impressive to me on a technical level. Yeah, we're gonna see the not quite as exciting intro, but it gives everyone a chance to look it over again. It's It's amazing. I genuinely don't know of another PS1 game that pushes the hardware like this game does. And they were clever about it. It's always smooth. The frame rate only chugs once combat really gets going. The cutscenes are buttery smooth. The emotion, well, I mean, they're drawing a different face for every single movement. At most, moving the mouth, and I don't know. It's one of those things that you're only gonna appreciate if you're a real nerd for that sort of retro tech. But I just think it's fantastic. Which takes us immediately into the combat. Which is... Oh boy, is this gonna take you a while. So, for the opening, you're essentially just learning how to attack. Nothing in this, like, little intro tutorial area poses much of a threat. And it's very much just to lean into the cinematics of the intro, but the combat... Oh, someone joined in! I didn't even see you pop in, Cyro. Hello.
Yes, hello. Dude, you were going on a bit of a tear. I didn't want to interrupt.
That's all good. That's all good. Did you have any thoughts on the graphics before we take another step forward?
No, I think you covered most of it. There's just a lot of really in-depth sort of a lot of stuff going on where the design crew stated, okay, we want this effect in this scene. What's the easiest, cheapest way to do that?
Mm-hmm.
Especially with the limitations of the PS1 and like the lighting, Halo models, the fact that like as you're moving through areas, it's just replacing like bits on the characters as they're entering well-lit areas.
Mm-hmm.
Like all that is all over the game, and it like even the cinematography, the really easy sort of like, oh, we're just gonna pose the camera here, like that. This is even stuff that you don't see nowadays.
Oh yeah. Actually, funny you bring up nowadays. The only game I can think of that goes to this level, where even just the smaller moments have these beautiful camera angles that make good use of what they've got, is Xenoblade. Is the only equivalent I can think of right now that isn't full blown. Even AAA games don't do like proper cinematography. They kind of cheat it. Yeah.
But I do think like a lot of when I think like how games pose these sorts of things like nowadays, it's the sort of like, oh, we're just gonna put this in engine, we're gonna put the like we might have like a camera out here with the dynamic back and forth. And Spatvark is saying that this is the dev team's first attempt at 3D. So yeah, that makes this whole thing like.
Well, that's like half true because like Tactics had things that were in 3D. This is their first attempt at a full 3D game, essentially.
Right, 3D modeling, not just 3D backgrounds.
But yeah, like it puts me in mind of like, well, essentially take a conversation in a modern RPG. Half the time the characters are just standing stock opposite each other, you know?
Oh yeah.
And like, yeah, okay. You gotta do that sometimes. This is a short game, by the way. Yeah, we should say that as well. This game's like 20, 25 hours? I forget. I did not take very long to beat it. It was like Chrono Trigger length, where it's like nice and breezy.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I still didn't end up finishing it, but I'd get distracted easily.
That's fair. It's a different one, but yeah, just the effort put in, and even the smallest details, like because there's no voice acting, they need every single shot to be able to hold while you read the dialogue. Except for very, very few where they couldn't get away with it and it'll advance automatically. And
No, that's a good point. I
that
didn't think
takes
of
a
that.
lot of effort. That takes a lot of planning and a lot of understanding when you can. Witcher 3 is one of the only modern games to do something make conversations interesting. Yes. I'm so glad you brought that up, because as well as Xenoblade, Witcher 3 is another game that comes to mind as an example of that. Where Yahtzee did an excellent extra punctuation about the AAA dialogue mode, where sometimes things are beautifully fully animated cutscenes, and then sometimes they're just characters standing stock opposite each other staring into the void. And he brought up Witcher 3 would fill in that gap with lots of smaller pre-baked animations. Kneeling down, moving around, like things that were generic, but they could use to add motion to each scene. Whereas this game sort of takes the opposite approach in saying, well, in that case, let's only have fully animated cutscenes and say we're just not gonna have any standstill dialogue. We don't need that in our game. We don't need NPCs, we don't need shops, we don't need none of that. Yeah, which in my eyes shows very what would be the word for it? Focused design?
Yes, I would say that. Like they have specifically, here's exactly what we want this game to be. Here are exactly the things we wanted to include. Nothing else.
Mm-hmm. Which I think that is the perfect time to bring it over to the gameplay.
Yes.
Because, there is so much to say about the gameplay. Alright. So I'm gonna do my best to sum up what I see as the basic gameplay loop. And it's gonna be a bit of a weird one, but I'm just gonna say it all, and then we'll see how people think it sounds. So in my eyes, once you get past the, when you rent the game and buy the game, you want the start to be the eye catch. You want it to be like, I've got to own this one, and obviously that's what this is against the dragon here. The opening, the very heavy cutscenes in the intro. They're trying to make it a bit eye catching to make sure everyone's on board. Once we get past this point and you get into what's the name of the city? I've forgotten it.
Leamond.
Leamond, that's it. Once you get into Leamond proper, you end up in a dungeon, and this is again where it feels like a very retro CRPG. Because you are in a dungeon, you may or may not have read the manual. That's really up in the air, which I'm 99% sure the devs were aware of.
Which is why they included a manual in the game.
Do I have words about that? Don't worry. I got that in this gameplay loop. In fact, you're in there. You know how to attack. You know how to move. You know how to interact, and so we'll go with, once you have the basics down, you're going through and you'll keep fighting, you'll keep upgrading your gear, you'll keep finding new ways to improve your damage and learn the different mechanics like the timed hits, and you will hit something that makes you go either, I don't know what this is, or I don't know how to beat this enemy. At which point you stop. You look at what you have in your inventory, you look at what areas you have access to around you, and you open up either the in-game manual or the actual physical manual, and look up okay, hang on, I think I need to use spells. How do spells work? Hang on, I think I need to use affinity. How does affinity work? Ooh, I need to raise affinity. How does raising affinity work? And you will do that. You will follow the manual's instructions, you will put it into practice, you will beat whatever is blocking your path, and then you will continue onwards, putting what you learnt to greater effect until you hit a wall again and start thinking, I need to unlock a new skill in order to get past this foe. And that is the entire game. I summed it up in my own review as you buy a CRPG and it comes with a 200-page manual. And you can't be asked to read that before playing the game. So you just sort of jump in and wing it. And then you start thinking, I think I need to know how this mechanic works now. So you look at it up in the manual, put it into practice, and then keep going. As opposed to, and this is often the stinger, reading the entire thing start to finish before you even start playing the game. If you, in my eyes, if you do that, you are only dooming yourself to forget everything you've read before it becomes relevant. And I believe the devs of this game were 100% aware of that. And that's why even in the in-game manual, they included a quick cheat sheet of read this before you play. That gives you like 11 things you need to know to play the game, and everything else you're left to access as you feel you need to. How does everyone else feel about that assessment? Because I am well aware that that is perhaps the most divisive thing about this entire game.
I mean, you didn't talk about risk, but...
Okay, so legit. To me, risk is the same thing. Is my risk is getting high, I should check what this does.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, like, managing risk is a core mechanic in the game.
Oh, it is. But... So that's why I said, to me, like... The reading of the manual and putting it into practice is more about part of the core gameplay loop than risk management, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean it's a reference document. You are only going to look at it when you have a question. At least that's how I used it.
And yes, it's a retro game again, but we are talking about Vagrant Story. A book club spent the past 2 months playing it. In your game FAQs guide, you have 12 points in the tips and tricks section, one more than the manual. Oh, damn, look at you go. But yeah, see, that's the thing, Syra. You bring up that it's a reference document. I know for a fact that Raw sat down and read the whole thing before playing the game. Ooh. And I know, it didn't pan out. It was forgotten about by the time he got, because it burned him out on it before he'd even started. And it's like, yeah, it would. It would have done the same to me.
I mean, Roar also played, like, his Elden Ring playthrough, he stayed and fought, like, that big golden knight. Right at the entrance.
Okay. Yeah. I know Roar can be stubborn like that. I'm just saying that, like, that as a thing, I know that is a route some people took, was I need to know all this before I even start. Which... I bring up so clearly because, again, I think the devs made it 100% intentional that you were not meant to read it all before you start playing. You were meant to jump in and enjoy the game first, and then come back to it.
I agree. And, like, these mechanics that are layered across everything, they are not as complicated as, like they seem very complicated when you are looking through the manual all the way through, but if you just play the game and then go reference it when you have a question, you say, I raise affinity by killing the monsters I want to kill with
not even killing. You just have to hit them. Which means that if you're stuck in a boss fight against a foe, and this is something I know Raw never got to, was you just actually have to, especially against all the early game foes, if you just keep swinging at them, you will raise your affinity enough to kill them. That is actually 100% the thing. You just have to understand that, like, essentially, you don't want to be doing the risk attacks on them. You just want to be spamming regular attacks as much as you can. And these are the little things that the manual sort of picks you up on. It's like, yeah, you know, there's this whole rhythm combo attack system, which I quite enjoyed as, like, Really, it was just a way to spice up the combat, if anything. It wasn't really that core to the experience, aside from a few boss fights you can cheese with the reflect damage.
Well, if you do so there were multiple people talking about how low the damage is, but
Yeah.
it's just like if you get a solid weapon against what you're fighting against, if you buff up, and if you are really good at the links, you
Mm-hmm.
can easily like triple or quadruple your damage, and like take bosses that are taking people like 4 or 5 minutes. Like you can get those down in half a minute.
And that's someone. I read the manual, forgot everything, but I only had enough time to play the intro section. Yeah, that's the whole thing. It's I don't know.
Yeah, but we should have said something. Like the people who had played it earlier probably should have read. Don't read the manual all the way through. Just don't do it. Just look up stuff when you have a question and just play the game.
See, that's interesting because on the one hand, you're right. On the other hand, like I know I went into this blind, and the second I saw read this first, I was like, okay, I only need to read that bit. Because you don't put read this first at the end of the manual unless it's like, the cheat sheet.
Or
But
yeah, that like
the game.
someone says it was kind of fun reading the manual, so I don't
Oh
know.
yeah, no, there's plenty of interesting stuff in there. It's just I don't think that you have any chance of memorizing it.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
definitely. But yeah, like I was saying, like these aren't really complicated. Like even risk, which is the fiddliest bit, is just like, oh yeah, as your risk goes up, your chance to hit goes down, but your chance to crit goes up.
ooh, you have just
That's
reminded me of
about it.
another thing I want to say about this game.
Go on.
I'm not entirely sure why, but this game has I affectionately refer to it as East syndrome, where a +1 to a stat is a really, really big deal, and
Yes,
a extra point of damage is actually relevant because
enormous.
this ain't Final Fantasy VII where you start out with 300 HP and anything in double digits means you weren't doing it properly. This game, if you're doing 5 damage to a monster every hit, hey, you're doing alright damage to that monster. That's not bad. I mean, it's not great, but you'll get it down. Don't worry. And I love that about this game. I love any game that can make every single stat buff and upgrade and number relevant without being like, wow, +5 to my intelligence. I don't care, like so many games do. And
Yeah,
I
yeah,
lo-
I agree.
and that's actually another thing that puts me in the mind of a really retro CRPG because those are the same. Where like, oh wow, you did 50 damage. Wow, whoa, that's like a nuke. You just nuked that monster.
I do remember like getting the silver dagger you get
Oh
like
yeah.
very early on. Just
Mm-hmm.
using that on enough undead things to turn that into like an exquisite weapon or something, where it had like 50% affinity against undead, just going around and like
Mm-hmm.
every swing on an undead rando was like, oh yeah, I'm just taking off 100 damage a hit.
Yep.
And I switched to a random sword and saw like 10.
I've seen many guides because I did like there were a couple of moments where I'm like, okay, I can trial and error this, or I can look up a little bit of help. And I did turn to Google probably about like 5 times over the course of the game, and it was I remember reading one that said, yeah, actually you can beat the entire game with the starting equipment. It's all about buffs, affinity, and the various stat upgrades you can make. And I'm like,
Oh yeah.
and like sort of taking that to heart, like I know there were a lot of boss fights that gave a lot of people some trouble, and I'm sitting here like, yeah, actually, if you just cast debuff on the boss and buff on yourself, you beat like 80% of the boss fights in this game.
I mean, also a big thing is like strength and intellect are both offensive and defensive stats.
That too.
So
Honestly,
like,
I never even picked up on that by the time I was done.
I only picked up on it because one of the soldiers, the random soldiers, will use like the strength up, and if you try to attack him, he'll take very little damage.
Oh, yeah.
But if you use the strength down on him, all of a sudden he starts taking like triple the damage.
You know, that's the other thing worth saying. There's, like, little to no immunities in this game. There's, like, a couple of things that are immune to maybe poison or silence or something, but you can debuff basically anything, including the final boss. Which makes me so happy. It brings me joy when a game lets you do that, and doesn't just say, yeah, you're not allowed to debuff the boss because... Well, because fuck you, basically.
Elements and damage types, though, there are a ton of immunities. Well, not immunities, but like heavy resistances.
Yeah, but the idea is you can still, like, do a generalized strength debuff and just, like... Well, you may resist... Yeah, you may resist bludgeoning, but I'm gonna make that back to a neutral, and then every enemy in the game, at least outside of the super bosses, only goes up to, like, what, 500 health at its peak? I think the final boss has, like, 999 split across its forms.
And yeah, by the time you get there, like, I was already approaching bosses where I was putting together strings that took, like, 70 to 80, like, when I was meeting them the first time.
Yeah.
So it's like, that can very easily. You can just delete people.
Exactly.
But it's also like they can do the same to you. Like the number of dragons that have just a element whatever breath, and it's just like, well, if I don't have the thing that specifically resists, if I don't have the link that specifically resists this damage type, I'm dead.
Yeah, there's a lot of enemies that are just like, you can build to resist it, but I know I often would just say, alright, I'm just gonna make sure I kill it first, and just, like, avoid the instant kill. Which you always could. It was always based on your own positioning as well as the enemies, which was interesting.
Yeah, there were a couple times when it was just like, oh, by the time I have run into the room, he has already cast fire breath.
Mm-hmm.
But also, those are like, okay, but the save point is literally outside his door.
Exactly. Also, Spatvark saying that only 4 or 5 enemies have more health than the final boss, including New Game Plus. Which, yeah, that sounds about right. It's not as big numbers as you think when you think JRPG boss fight. It's like, it's very like, humanly comprehensible numbers. As opposed to, like, in my head, I go to, like, something like Final Fantasy X, where by default it's like, oh yeah, the super boss has 20 million health, and, like, you can't even think about that properly. Like, your brain can't go, oh, 20 million, well, how many 9999s do I have to do to go into that? It's like, your brain don't work that way. Whereas here, it's all essentially sub 1,000. Very much understandable numbers.
Yeah, no, the numbers are very small, and that works in its favor. I was just gonna say, I've been playing Star Ocean Second Story R.
Oh yeah,
and yeah, that has a similar like at the very end, the New Game Plus of that, like, the super boss is the final boss, but you've unlocked its limiter.
Okay.
And, like, at that point, you also have, like, oh, here's a skill where you can surpass the damage limit, so that now you're also doing 99,999 damage a hit. And his health bar is, like, hundreds of millions of hit points.
Yeah. Taking another look at Nico's review, the best summary, and sort of like, go-to of will you enjoy this game is this game feels like well, two things. First, you're going to spend more time in the equipment menu than playing the game, which is fairly accurate. You have to sort of be okay with that as a part of your little dungeon crawl. And the fun of Vagrant Story is being given too many playing pieces and figuring out what ones you need to get past any specific challenge. Is you open up the box, you have access to every single thing in the game, and the question is, which one of these do I actually need right now? It's like,
There was a bit of fatigue I was feeling, like at the point I was, just how much stuff I had to use and sort through to get past any challenge.
oh
And
yeah.
then, like I remembered a point where I had like the second dragon or third dragon or whatever, the one who starts using the fire breath. I had looked up on him because I just wasn't dealing any damage at all. Like it was only when I got to, oh, okay, his tail is his weakness.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these dragons don't even let you hit the tail.
Did
Okay.
did you ever actually scan enemies?
I did once or twice.
Okay.
I don't remember what it did.
So I did it every single time. You go into the status menu, swap the status to the enemy status, and then you can see the affinity and resistance for every single body part on the enemy. And you can find out, like, oh, their tail is weak to slashing, but their head is weak to bludgeoning, but all over they're weak to earth and resistant to air. And you can be like, alright, so I gotta hit the head with my fire mace, and that won't deal bonus damage, but it'll do enough to kill it.
Yeah, I did not. I did not figure that out. Like, I remember using analyze on several dudes in the game, and just did not figure out how to look at their status
I
at all.
definitely did like a Google of how the hell do I look at analyze? To which someone just said, yeah, just go to the status menu and hit R1. And then there it was. It was actually very simple once that happened. But
Damn it!
yeah, Spatvark sort of right. Analyze is the most important thing in the game, but it's not explained at all, which is a shame. And that is very much well, it's something I like because I like yeah I want a game to just be like I don't care. Here's everything. Go have fun because I'm the sort of person who plays Ultima 2, and enjoys it. But that's not necessarily a good thing. It's just a thing. The number one word you would describe this game with is obtuse. You know, that's entirely correct.
And yeah, that's what I was getting at with like the risk stuff and the
Yeah.
affinity building. Like those are simple mechanics, but the way that the game presents them in the manual and such, like makes people think they're more complicated than they are. And
Mm-hmm.
like you were saying with analyze, you just go into the status menu and you press R1. You're done. Like I never figured that out.
Yeah. It's 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 funny. I think the game's production values actually mislead a little bit because you look at this game, you look at its gorgeous cutscenes and like the effort put into its presentation, and it sort of hides the fact that this isn't just like a retro dungeon crawl. This is like Wizardry 1 sort of energy where it is raw, it is just made for a very, very niche kind of person. And if you're not that kind of person, this is probably not the game for you. You probably should just watch the cutscenes on YouTube. Like, you need to have
Yeah,
a very specific mindset to enjoy this game, I feel.
yeah, like that was another thing I was getting. Like this type of game is much more popular these days.
Mm-hmm.
Like a few changes to this formula, this could be like another like retro indie darling, just like a roguelike of this nature with these sorts of mechanics, some sort of meta
So,
progression layer on the end of it.
so I do want to bring something up on that front because I simultaneously you're 100% right, and I genuinely don't think you could make a game like this work today because it's well, I don't think it would be a darling because it is obtuse, it is obfuscated, and it is not player friendly. You will get people who go, why do I have to read this menu before I play the game? This is not what I want. And a game like this back in the day would often get away with that by saying, well, it's the only game you got, so what you gonna do? Like, yeah, oh, too bad. Play the video game. What are you gonna do? It's not like you've got 10 million free to play games to pick from. Whereas that doesn't really work today.
But that ties back to the whole thing where like the way the manual presents those things as well makes them more complicated than they are.
Okay,
That's what I mean.
Oh, I get what you're saying. Where like that's like sort of say Minecraft or something, where rather than an in-game tutorial, people tend to like learn by doing and figure it out themselves, sort of thing.
Right, but also the descriptions themselves are a little like
Okay.
say what that fart means obtuse. Like they
So,
do not explain itself. They do not explain the concepts well.
yeah. So, yeah, Spatfart good. Yeah, like this, but good tutorialization could help a lot with getting people into the gameplay mechanics. And I can't disagree with sort of both those takes that like this is something you could see from a sort of indie darling today, or it could be better tutorialized. But I can't help but immediately come to mind that my favorite part of this game was figuring it out myself, and I always felt a bit down when I did have to Google something. Not because it was like, oh, well, that was a failure on the game, but rather I was like, God, I kind of wish I just could put in the hours to just sit here and figure this out on my own. Like, there is a joy in that, in just figuring it out yourself. And it's not fair, and it's not really balanced, and it's not really good design. But there's something there. There is something to that whole thing that I think is lost if you don't make it as raw and as like obfuscated as this game does. And maybe that's just me being a weirdo, but I feel like this game was kind of made for weirdos like me, so I don't know. That's just how I'm feeling about it.
To part of that point, did you ever find any of the secret areas?
Yep. Some of them. So I hit a point right at the end where I was like, okay, I'm like outside the final area. If I were a kid, like I remember thinking to myself, if I were a kid playing this, I would totally just scour the game world again. I am not that, so I am going to Google where the keys go. But in my head, I just knew it that it was a case of I could also just sit here and search like top to bottom this game world and enjoy it. And that's often well, essentially that's something that you only get in retro games because modern games, well, want to respect your time. Which is not, again, not a bad thing, but I can't help but sit there and be like, I kind of appreciate a game that says, fuck you, I'll do it my way. I don't know. Also, did we bring up that this game has Sokoban elements? Where you move boxes around for some reason?
We did not. No, there are a couple of these.
Yeah.
There are a couple random appearing, like, not this, but just randomly sprinkled throughout the game. Sometimes the door will lock and it'll just be like, okay, it's puzzle time.
Yeah, there's all.
Then you get graded on how fast you solve the puzzle.
Nothing's really that hidden. The map shows what keys are needed for each door. Oh, you're not wrong, Spatvark. I'm just saying that like I wasn't taking that many notes. Like
also, like I definitely missed a ton of crap.
Yeah.
While I was playing, like
yeah. But I don't think that's a bad thing. Again, I think this is a game, like, I feel like if you really wanted to get into that side of it, there's New Game Plus. Like, this is a game that I'm sure would have been very interesting to go for the super bosses on. And to, like, really get in depth with the crafting system and, like, figure it out. The fact that you don't have to beat the final boss, but you can to make your odds better, it shows very clever design in my eyes. That they were able to get that sort of equipment system down where you can use it and you can improve yourself, but you don't need it to win. What else was there? The Sokoban, the puzzles, the map.
The script, I guess.
Oh yeah, the story's great. Honestly, it's just a very like low-key story.
Yeah,
it's
but like it is a dark fantasy. Well, not dark fantasy.
No, it's dark fantasy.
Yeah.
This is okay. So I forget the name of the Final Fantasy Tactics writer, but I've always said like they're not fantastic at some parts, but dear God, do they write the best like low fantasy? That's it. They write the best low fantasy I've ever read, and I want to read like them doing a Game of Thrones-esque book. Like
yeah, there's that, but it's just like there's also the other thing where they keep like that they will write a political story, they will get all these factions involved, there'll be political drama, and then the demons show up. And it's like I feel that works a lot better here in Vagrant story where it's just like one dude and a few people, like
I get what you're
like
saying.
Going through this horrible labyrinth, other than like the sprawling like war between these two kingdoms, and also, here's these 12 demon guys over here. Don't look at them too hard. Don't worry about it.
I get what you're saying. Yeah. Whereas this is rather than multiple kingdoms warring, it's essentially like 4 or 5 groups of people in this Leomond dungeon. Which works just a lot better, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like there's like what 12 main characters.
Basically,
like 12 main dudes.
There are 2 characters who I swear to God came out of nowhere, and I genuinely forget where they came from. It was like the 2 mercenaries that show up towards the end of the game. I don't know who they were. I genuinely forget. I'll be honest with you. They showed up. They fought a zombie dude once, and then that was it. I forgot who they were, and I cannot lie about that.
It's like the 2 assassins that show up in Tactics with what's his name, the vampire dude.
Yeah, I never actually finished Final Fantasy Tactics because I couldn't get over the gameplay.
Well, they also turned into demons, so it's just sort of like what happened. Where?
2 commanders in the Crimson Blades, I see. Yeah. I guess I also appreciate this game because, again, I could miss stuff like that. Like, it took me a long time to come to grips with, like, who are these people? Like, who is this, like, noble what's going on? But the fact that I was able to enjoy the story up to that point, because it is just focused on Ashley and like what he's doing throughout it all, it's again, it's why I like how the Tactics writer handles these sorts of political drama things. They're really, really well put together to the point where they're very easy to follow, when a common pitfall is that you need a chart to follow along with what's going on with all these things. Like, you forget who's backstabbing who or what. Like, Sydney! Like, oh my god, Sydney is an amazing character. Can we talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, he's great.
Actually, absolutely fantastically written. Like, start to finish, one of the most interesting characters I've ever seen in a JRPG. And just amazing. Honestly, just amazing. Everything he does is like his motivation, like he's so mysterious and like he's got that like Sephiroth energy, you know? But he's so easy to understand by the end. Like, yes, you get everything that's going on. And that's so hard to do. As evidenced by the fact that I just referenced Sephiroth, and even I had to Google what Sephiroth was trying to do. Like, I didn't quite understand what his plan was by the end of 7.
I mean, there are still debates about what exactly Sephiroth is at that point.
Right. Whereas Sydney is, no. It's, like, I don't want to say it in case someone's watching who hasn't, which if you haven't, I hope we've convinced you to play the game. But the fact that by the end of the game, it is just so crystal clear what's up with Sydney. It's Yasumi Matsuna wrote Tactics, Jun Akiyama helped him with Vagrant story. I was Genova right up till the ending. Isn't that the question? Because Sephiroth is like Genova half the time. It's so confusing, man. Listen, I like 7. I think it's overrated, because of course it is, but I liked Final Fantasy 7. Anyway, I'm just like, this game's fucking confusing. Like, dear God.
I mean, like, I'm definitely for team. It's Genova the entire time. They just get confused to the end.
I think I settled on, like, Genova and Sephiroth are essentially the same entity at that point in time. I pin it like they, like, merged by the time Sephiroth fell into the live stream. Is, like, where I think I settled on.
Yeah, that's one of the common ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, back to Vagrant story.
Yeah, back to Vagrant story. Yeah, its Vagrant story is, like, again, so insanely in depth. Like there's so many like different factions and backstabs and motivations, but you can follow them all, and that's just fantastic. Spatvark, you say that as though the 7 remake is actually a remake, which I won't say more than that, but it's really not at this point.
And thank God for it.
Honestly, I do think it's better for it. Mainly because I think everyone should shut up and just play the original Final Fantasy VII, because for all its faults, it still holds up. But I'm the one to hear, like, gushing over Vagrant story, so I know I'm in the minority, so take that as you will.
But yeah, there's Sydney, it's been like a month and a half since I played. I can't remember anybody's
Well,
name.
there's Harden, because Sydney just called out his name. There's the girl,
Yes.
Milos. There we go. Thank you, Ashley. There was that one general who, again, I forget his name, but you beat him up at one point, and it's very satisfying. And there was the bad guy, who I forget his name, but I still remember them. Like, you put them in front of me. Sydney I remember because everyone's chasing Sydney. But I do remember these characters. I've just forgotten their names. There's the general, the paladin,
girlfriend.
Oh no! There's the general who's like on his own, and then I always called the guy with his girlfriend a paladin in my head.
Oh, okay.
I always saw him as a paladin, especially given how things go.
I mean, he is a tied with the church. You're definitely right there.
Yeah, that's how because I know the other dude wasn't. At least not as much. Also, I won't lie, I always forget, but when I'm watching people do the start of the game again, at the start, it feels like a meta-narrative. Like, it's gonna turn out that Ashley is possessed by, like, the player or something. That's not actually
I feel like if this was a modern game, that would definitely be where they go with it.
Oh, yeah, you know they would. Undertale. Like, sorry, Undertale, I love you, but it's true. You ruined everything. But, no, it's something else entirely, which I appreciated. Mainly because, was it Knights of the Old Republic 2 already did the, that's how experience points work joke. That's about it, really. But yeah, otherwise, story, honestly, 10 out of 10. Great story. Did absolutely everything it wanted to do, and then some.
I forgot that there were 2 characters in this game named Rosencrantz and Guildenstern.
Oh, right.
You just threw those in.
Oh, right. Wasn't Guildenstern was like one of the two I was talking about, I believe.
Yeah, yeah, I think he's isn't he the general?
Yeah.
Is he the general? Yeah.
They're not dead at first. Yeah, that sounds about right. I also like that we never get an explanation for for Sydney properly. Like, it's kept mysterious, which I enjoy a story that can do that without making it like, ooh, magic.
I mean, really, like Sydney's story started before this ever happened,
Yeah,
and he's not going to explain himself,
no,
and no one else cares to. They just want him dead.
basically. He don't. Well, that's the funny thing. He's not going to explain himself, but the game will. Yeah, it's just really well put together. And honestly, I'm kind of glad that this gets to live on, if only by being tied in with tactics now. Like, not officially, but at least that means that, like, you know, they're allowed to keep putting in references game. They can put in the music in
I
14.
swear there was an interview where they said this took place at the very tail end of Evil East.
Yeah. So it was originally this was not. There were a few cute references. Over time it was decided, you know, there's really no reason it couldn't be. So they went with it and just said, yeah, we'll do that, which I 100% pin on. They wanted to be able to reference Vagrant Story. I
Oh yeah,
100%
definitely.
believe they were just like, we really like that game. We want to put references into it, and Square Enix will only let us if it's a Final Fantasy title. So Vagrant Story is now Ivalice.
Yeah, I mean it lets them tie in an IP to another bigger IP and lets lets you push two fan bases together so that now they're
Yeah.
one bigger fan base and you can
It
sell stuff.
You know, you say that negatively, but in this case it works because Ivalice and the Vagrant Story share so much already that it's like, yeah, that's actually a nice thing. Like, you know what? That makes sense that that those fan bases would go together better. That means
I
that when
mean,
they do the big, like, orchestral Ivalice soundtrack, they're allowed to put Vagrant Story music on it, and that just makes everyone happy.
yeah, I mean, like I'm saying that sarcastically, but
Yeah.
that's how IP works.
It's,
That is how all companies with these sorts
oh,
of things do
no.
this.
What I'm saying is, yes, that's how it works. But in this case, it's like it's not as like, you know, ooh,
Oh
corporate
yeah,
greed. It's like
like
actually,
otherwise this would just founder and be
yeah,
just this.
yeah.
Everyone would have
Whereas
forgotten
now,
it.
it honestly it helps people who are like, boy, howdy, I sure do love Final Fantasy 12 and Tactics. And then they're like, hey, did you know Vagrant Story's in the same universe? And then they might discover Vagrant Story, and that's not a bad thing. That's actually a very good thing, really. But
Agreed.
yeah, that's another matter. Also, hi Spidey, and yes, we'll do Lethal Corp at some point. But right now, we're talking about Vagrant Story in
On
our
that
RPG
topic,
book club.
is there actually anything more we need to discuss?
Well, if anyone else would like to join in on the conversation, you can join the Mystery Funhouse Discord, which someone will get a link to shortly, and hop in the hop in the waiting room, and we can open up calls to the audience. If you also played Vagrant Story and have fun facts or funny stories or your own opinions you wish to share, or you can share them in chat. That's really up to you. I'm just really filling time until I can get a link, an invite link. Let me just
Vamping. It's called vamping.
and there it is. That should be the mystery Discord. So you can join in there where every month or 2 months we alter depending on the game's length. We vote on a new JRPG or regular RPG for our book club, which is dedicated to all those RPGs that you like, oh, I'll play that at some point, and then you never get to because it's like 30 hours, and like, who's got time for that, you know? That's like that's a lot of video game. How else and so we figure, hey, if we're all doing it together, you have more, like, I probably wouldn't have finished this game if not for the book club. So that's why we're doing it. You can come on in. You can submit what games you'd like to see. Maybe you'd like all of us to play this one game that you think is amazing, or you could go through our history of games, all of which we have up on the shelf. All the topics are still there and open, so if you're like, oh, I really want to play Crosscode, you can play through and share your thoughts as you go. So yeah, we even did Doom RPG, as you can see on the couch there. That was a fun one.
I am sad I missed Doom because I couldn't.
You could always, you could always, oh no, you could always fiddle around with it and jump back in.
Yeah, but I have like 4 other RPGs I'm playing right now.
Fair enough.
I play a lot.
Yeah. So so what we've done the story, we've done the gameplay, we've done the presentation, and we've done the general like feel of the manual. I think I think we've just about covered everything for the moment. So yeah, again, if anyone else would like to chime in with something, do feel free. And as for so combination system?
Oh, the weapon
combinations.
Yes.
So that's something that I didn't really engage with beyond, ooh, can I make my weapons more powerful? I didn't go that hard at it. I don't know that much about it. To me, it's the sort of thing where the game like actually just puts it aside and says, you know what? Beyond like minor interactions, this is for those people who want to really like get funky with the spreadsheets and figure out how this game works. Because it does not tell you much about it.
Most of what I did with the combination system is just like, okay, do I have a better hilt for Soul Kiss?
Yeah, exactly.
No. Okay. It's staying as it is.
Yeah, or I'd I'd have my rotation of like good gems and attachments for my weapons, and then it'd just be I'd get to a workshop and I'd just be like, all right, hang on, I'm gonna just like spend the next 30 minutes digging through my inventory and trying out every combination. And maybe I'd find 1 or 2 that are improvements, otherwise I'd leave it be.
That there is also the I forget what it's called. Smelting. Whatever. It is a similar idea where you take two weapons and like forge them together to create a new one.
Yeah, that's where so Spatvaker, right? I remember looking it up and seeing like, are there any cheat sheets? And the answer was kind of barely. It honestly, I realized, oh, you know what? I'm just gonna YOLO it and see if I can get any improvements. And I got a couple. I got a few weapon buffs, which were nice, but otherwise, I really just kind of stuck with what I had.
Okay, so yeah, that's what you were talking about. Yeah. Mostly I was just like, okay, I'm running out of space in my cache here, so I'm just going to combine all these weapons I'm not using, see what comes out, and yeah, I didn't really get anything great.
Yeah, I did kind of wish towards the end of the game I definitely wish the inventory was bigger, but at the same time, towards the end of the game I started having points where I was very clearly, wow, I can actually just toss this sword away because I've got 5 of them. Well, I guess this isn't as limited as I thought. That's just how such things go, really. But yeah, other than that, I don't really have much to say. The boss fights, I do think, were very fun in the game. Like, you're saying, like, some dragons won't let you attack the tail. They absolutely would. You had to equip a weapon with enough range.
Maybe, but there was the dragon after that guy, the Earth Dragon. Does not have a tail. He has a tail, but he doesn't.
Triscorp, absolutely. Hop in waiting room. I'll draw again. Oh, there you are. Hello. We were just discussing dragons without tails. Apparently. How goes?
Pretty well. So you complete the game, or?
I did not.
Yes, I did indeed finish the game.
Okay, so I'm just curious how you went for the combat because how do I say this? It was mostly buffing and was mostly buffing and debuffing the enemies and
Yeah,
use an analyze on them. By the
yeah,
way, I did not. The analyze is just like I have to look that up for the Google too.
yeah. That was a
Yeah, I
little.
really should have. I really should have looked up analyze. How to use it.
Yeah, I was just sitting there like, this is the most important fact I can find. I can't figure it out. And it was again one of those cases where it's like I could either sit here and experiment for an hour, or just like accept it's 2023 and Google it. So I Googled it.
It's like really important for the spirit that has like what the fire spirits that are like
Yeah.
The
maybe
gin. The
weak
gin.
to water or something like that. That's
Mm-hmm.
really important.
Yeah, no, I also had to test out some stuff on that guy, and like it took me a while before I landed on okay, bludgeoning weapons, arms, frost fusion. That's it, and then just whittle him down.
Mm-hmm. I honestly found the combat, especially the real discovery for me was just like the open up every boss fight with buff yourself again, debuff the enemy, analyze their weakest point. And that got me through, as I said, like 80% of the boss fights. Even without like switching weapons.
Something you have to figure out it's like two different buffs.
Oh,
Buffs
yes.
you can have. One status and one like element
Yes.
or something like that.
So the way I figured that was you can buff your gear and you can buff yourself. Because if you switch weapons after you put the element on it, it gets rid of the element, but it doesn't get rid of the status buff. At least that's how I saw it.
Yeah, I was thinking, did you ever figure out what WP does on the weapons? And
WP, okay, so I know they had two numbers. One of them was the durability, and the other was, I don't know how to describe it, but you would just put it, once it was maxed, the weapon just does double damage, and it goes away when you repair it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what WP did. Yeah, I saw that there was a chain link specifically to increase WP faster.
Yeah.
But I did not know it doubles effectiveness.
Yeah, that was like my bread and butter. Is just use that, get my new weapon up, and whenever you repair your weapon and armor, it depletes the WP as well. You have to regain it again. This is something the game does not tell you. I had to find out myself.
Yeah, DP and PP, they work on percentages of the bar for how they go into damage calculations. I see. Yeah, see, that's stuff where I never really understood the exact numbers, but I understood, like, what I wanted them to be. You know?
Yeah, it was like, if my VP was low, I did like, had like 8 on the enemy, and if it was like max, it was like 60 or 70. It was like a huge difference.
Yeah.
Kind of insane.
Yeah. I know, for me, what it always came down to was, like, if buffs alone didn't do it, I would always just, like, stack a single weapon with as much of a given, like, class or affinity as possible. At which point, I was usually dealing about 20 damage, which was enough to carry me through the rest of the fight. Against basically anyone.
Yeah, and plus the like 10% hit chance. That or 20 was like a rune you could equip something.
Yep. One of them was
That
just.
that
Oh,
yeah, that one is like really important.
mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, there's
final
the.
thing.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the final boss, the final phase.
Yeah.
How did you beat that boss?
So
Took me like 2 hours or something.
So I was like, okay, hang on. This is JRPG Final Boss. It always goes hard. What am I missing? And I remember being like, because at this point I had Googled a couple of bosses, and every time it wasn't like, oh, here's how to make the boss easy. It was like actual strategies, which meant I was a bit more confident in just being like, oh, I'm just gonna see like what the recommended advice is. And then someone said, go to the gargoyle that's in the attic, like outside the final boss area, and that is evil. Attack that until you have like 100 evil class on a weapon, and that'll let you kill the final boss. So I'll be honest with you, I plugged,
Ah,
I quote unquote plugged in my auto fire controller, weighed down the button, and left my console on. I killed the gargoyle like 5 times. It was actually kind of funny that you can't kill those things, but I did get it up to 100 to just be like, okay, if there was ever a boss that you need to like prepare for, it would be the final one.
wow. So I didn't looking anything up, and I was like beating my head against the boss because nothing dealt damage I could do. And then I like looked around the spells. The only spell that did like above 0 was the basic fireball. It was a 2. And then it was like, maybe I take up the affinity for fire, buff myself with fire, and then shoot fireball at it. And it alternately it was at 85. So you fireball against the final boss, waited to. So the strat was like, the final strat I come with was like, stand in the middle of the room. So he just cast this like spell that he only can cast for a certain range. Reflect that towards him until he depletes all his mana. Then I start casting, switching over to fire and casting fire at him until he dies. That was pretty much my strategy at the end.
To be fair, that's not a bad one. That's a fair strategy, honestly.
Yeah, I had to like whittle down his like MP, so I could actually use my MP to heal myself because he did like too much damage. I had to like wait him
Yeah.
out until I could cast fire.
Yeah, I think I just like buffed myself to the point where I killed him in like one really good chain. And which was actually the only boss I did that for, funnily enough. Mainly because I didn't do anything with defense, and that meant that by the final boss, I was kind of screwed, because he could insta-kill me.
Oh yeah. I did find like it's like it turns overhead, then he comes in really fast.
Oh,
He
yeah.
super attack. I found out that if you attack him during that, he can't. It just cancel the attack.
Yes, so that's just the intentional...
Really hard.
Yeah, I actually kept a crossbow on me for that, so I could, like, keep spamming it until I got the lock-on him. Like, essentially, I was pause buffering it, and once I got it, I'd take the shot.
That's way smarter than just use my basic Hallberg.
Hey, if it works.
Yeah, that's all I wanted to add.
No, that's fair. Thank you very much for coming in.
Yeah, that final boss was like, oh boy, oh boy. I was beating my head against that one.
Oh, the seventh heaven you pick up really early on. Yeah, that was actually the crossbow I was using. I just kept it in my storage the whole time. Oh goodness. But yeah, thank you very much for coming in on that, Triscol. Thanks for sharing your thoughts.
And I had fun with this game, so I think it
Cool.
was a good pick actually.
Yeah, no, I think it was very, very much like
agree,
exactly what the book club was sort of made for. There's games like this. They're just a little bit weird, a little bit out there, you know?
More questionable.
Yeah. Little different, a little bit of variety in our lives.
I will leave you to this and see you guys later.
Yeah, you take care.
Have a good one.
Alright. Well, that's Triscourt coming in with some fun thoughts about the combat. If anyone else would like to, just let us know either in Twitch chat or again in the rating room. Just boop us, let us know you're sitting there. I can only have so many things up on the screen at any given time. At least for now, until I get my new 4K monitor in.
We are observing you.
Yes. Other than that, though, I will say, because TPC's been a bit out of it lately, we don't quite have submissions ready. But what I was thinking was instead, would people like to just share what game they're going to submit when submissions open for next month? Like, rather than have we don't have quite the proper slideshow. But if you just want to come out and say what game you're submitting, I mean, there's no downside to that. You can just pitch it to us right here and now. Just the thought. It's something else to fill the, like, ending part of this.
What are you planning to submit, Ferris?
I am going to submit either Ultima Underworld or Ultima 4. I'm not entirely sure which one yet. It's gonna come down to my mood, but I know for a fact we need to have Ultima in one of these. And fact is, it's gotta be either the one that essentially codified the first person, like, fully interactable and free movement dungeon crawl, or what is often considered one of the best CRPGs of all time. It's got to be one of those two. Like, Ultima 4 is the CRPG with no antagonist. You're essentially trying to become Jesus and going through the adventures and trials you need to reach that point in life. And well, it's considered a classic by oh so many, and I figured that's exactly the sort of thing that the book club is for. Well, Ultima Underworld is just going to be a pretty fun time, honestly. How about you, Sarah?
Well, I was going to say, probably Okage Shadow King.
Ah, that one again.
Just
Eventually.
It will continue happening until it gets picked.
The Okage Shadow King submissions will continue until morale improves. I see. This is understandable. That's basically where I'm at with Ultima. But how about all of you at home? Anyone else got any ideas? Anyone new to the stream thinking like, ooh, this RPG book club sounds fun? Yeah, you know, if you want to join in on the mystery stuff, we also got a mystery tournament coming up. That's another fun thing happening on the Discord. You know, I was going to maybe Vandal Hearts. I believe that one's been submitted. It hasn't been picked, but I recall seeing that.
You could take up the torch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly the sort of stuff we've because what other submissions have we seen? Well, again, you can sort of look at the games behind us for like what we've done before. We started with Dragon Quest III because we figured that's like Grandpa JRPG, you know.
It's the classic for a reason.
Mm-hmm. There he is. We got Romancing Saga, Vampire the Masquerade, Silva, that game that I had never heard of. Shin Megami Tensei Digital Devil Saga, Crosscode, Live Alive, Shadowrun, anything of the traditional role-playing game, or even non-traditional, I mean, Last Story over there, role-playing game variety. This is really free game for submissions. Fact is, if it's not a good submission, we just wouldn't vote on it, so it never hurts to try. You never know what people would be like, you know what? That sounds kind of rad, let's do it. And yeah, at the end of the way we have it set up, if the game is, I believe it's under 25 hours on how long to beat, we will have 1 month to complete the game. If it is more than that, we will have 2. It might be 20 hours. I'm not entirely sure what we set it to. And then at the end of that, we have ourselves a recap stream like the one you're watching right now. And get to voting on whatever comes next after we've had our discussions and interesting insights. And throughout the month... Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I believe it is 25 hours, and it's 25 hours. Every 25 hours past that is another month increment.
Yes, though it would be...
Etrian Odyssey 3 was a... Etrian Odyssey was a 3-monther. I remember that.
Yes, though it is also... if you're submitting something that's over 50 hours, like, you know, it's going to be a real good one. And because otherwise people are going to be like, that's too long.
There's a lot of good ones.
Yeah.
Like, one of my dreams is to get Wild Arms 3 accepted.
I mean,
and that game goes.
Xenogears and Xenoblade for me is how it is. And of course, throughout the month, we have the topic in the Discord. Yeah, you know, you can pop in, keep things spoiled, unless it's like the very start of the game. But you can share your reactions and thoughts as you're going through. Any fun facts, or if you need advice but don't want to risk the spoiler field that can be Googling something, can be worth just popping in and saying, hey, does anyone know how to deal with this thing? I really can't figure this thing out. Like, oh, hey, does anyone know how Analyze works? You know, things like that. It's a good little, you know, we're not always chatting every day, but it's a good little thing we got going. And yeah, I think y'all would really enjoy joining in if you haven't already.
And I will say, quality is not a factor. So Nico did just bring up, like in the topic like a couple days ago, that Hoshiwo Mirohito has a fan translation.
I don't know what this is.
It is the most legendary of legendary Kusoge.
Oh boy.
It is in the running for the worst RPG ever made.
Oh boy.
Just because of how little of it actually works.
Oh. Well, to be fair, the same is true of Final Fantasy 1 on NES.
Right. But I mean, stuff like the first town is invisible.
Fuck, you may have just convinced me now. I'm gonna vote for it. It's in there. Oh, that sounds great.
There is a status that there is a magic spell that's castable by enemies and by you as well, but on enemies it's really bad. That is a permanent paralysis. You cannot cure it.
Yeah. Like ever?
I believe there are 5 items, like the 5 berries or something that you can get in the game.
Dear God.
And that's it.
Oh, that sounds like a video game, alright. Jesus Christ.
You should, if you've never seen it, you should watch the what is it? The HEDQ or GQ run by Doe Wolf of it. It is phenomenal.
Let's see. Well then, might have to check that out at some point. Maybe someone can link it in the RPG book club chat for people to check out post-stream.
Have you been playing any RPG, anything else recently, or?
So I've been winding down on my video gaming right now, as far as like games to complete. I'm waiting on a new computer with a 4080, and then I'm gonna be kicking a few high graphic fidelity games into high gear, so I don't really want to start anything right now. I did start The World Ends With You, though, because I never finished it. And
Hell yeah.
the Wii version with solo co-op is pretty fun. That's all. Actually, honestly, The World Ends With You is absolutely another game we could see on the book club. It absolutely matches. It would be a bit trickier to play, especially nowadays, what with it kind of relying on the touchscreen and the phone versions being kind of bleh. But it otherwise, the story, the length, that's exactly the sort of game we could see, you know?
Agreed. And like there's definitely a lot to it that could extend it past the,
Mm-hmm.
just the story. Like there's a lot of ideas in that game that are actually
Yeah.
pretty
It's a
tantalizing.
very interesting game, and it has memes in it. Which I always get caught off guard when a Japanese video game name drops memes, but not the memes we're familiar with. The memes in like the technical definition of like a theme, like word or theme that carries meaning between people. Oh, Tawui's on Windows, huh? I don't know if that's probably a port of the phone version though.
I would say yes.
Yeah. But
That
yeah,
that is a recent SquareSoft game.
I
Going to
think
be a portable phone.
I think I said in the Aeon Discord when I got to it, like, I don't know what Japanese school teacher taught all these game developers like the actual like meaning of the word meme before it became what the internet made it today. But I wonder if they regret that decision. Because clearly it resonated with some people. I don't know. Anyways,
Memes riding.
the DNA of the soul. Yes. Spat Vark started replaying Fire Emblem 7. Ah, fair. I gotta finish Engage. I've like got partway through and then I was like, oh, I'll finish this when I have the free time. It's been well, let's just say I bought it at launch and I've only gotten
February.
like a chapter in.
Yeah, no, I'm very much the same. I'm at like
Yeah.
chapter 17 or 18 and haven't moved since early March.
But it was actually a very fun game with I know it made my friend happy because you could play it for the first time on Nightmare mode. Which was like,
Oh yeah,
yes.
that was great. And
So,
Nightmare mode is actually a pretty like it is a very difficult challenge, but it is not like lunatic reverse.
mm-hmm. I know my friend was very happy because they're massive Fire Emblem nut. So they did not like Three Houses because it was a baby game for babies, as they put it. They knew they were being elitist, so they were doing it for the memes, but they did miss uber difficult Fire Emblem.
Did they go back to playing it on Maddening when that came out?
Yeah, they did.
Oh, okay.
So they got annoyed by like little quality of life things that you couldn't turn off because they wanted to be able to make mistakes. And that's where they were like, oh, if I have to beat it on normal first, then I already know where all the things are going to be. I'm not going to be caught off guard. I can't do my, like, blind, lunatic, Iron Man challenge stuff, you know?
I thought Maddening also did stuff like same turn reinforcements and stuff like that. But
I think it did, but yeah. Path of Radiance's last great Wonder Three Houses is fairly decent. Yeah, Fire Emblem's a weird one. It's one of those series where I'm like, I ask my friends like, hey, which one should I play? And they're like, I don't know that you should.
76.
No, I believe their answer was, I don't know that you should. Which is always a fun one. Though the fact that they could now comfortably say engage was nice. They could be like, yes, this has a good normal mode, hard mode, and lunatic mode. But now we're getting well off Vagrant story now, so maybe that's time for the call to stream.
I will say one thing before we go. I've been playing a little thing. Well, one of the RPGs that I played recently that is now on the Steam sale that I thought was very interesting was a thing called Start Again, a prologue. It's a time loop story. It's it is the thing in every JRPG where you are at the end of the game. Here's the final boss, and you died, and now you're back to the entrance to the final boss.
Oh, it's
And
the Final Fantasy III Final Dungeon video game.
Yeah, and only you know, only the main character knows that this is happening. So it's also like a breakdown simulator.
Crystal Tower, the video game. Gasp.
But like it's very short. It's right now it's going for like the price of a cup of coffee. So it's like
always fun.
I just thought it would be a nice, cute little shout out.
Alright, our question is, who we raiding? We raiding a Jorf? We might be raiding a Jorf. Jorf's going for the Mortal Yakuman. Oh, hell yeah, let's go.
Go.
Everyone say hi to Jorf. I nearly typed Jorfuman. Everyone raid. And just, hang on, I'll type what I want y'all to yell at the raid message to be in chat. Jorkuman. Everyone raid and yell at Jorkuman, alright? Alright, well thank you all for tuning in. Please do join in the Discord if you haven't already. If you want to follow me, I will be streaming further book club recap streams on this channel, as well as my own things in between. I'll be playing Cyberpunk once I get my new computer. That's kind of an RPG. Anyways, for now, we're going to say hi to Jorf. And until next time, I hope all of you at home take care. And Cyro, thank you so much for joining me today.
Anytime, Ferris. Thanks for having me.
Peace.
Bye, folks.